paramedics into our community. Probably about 2023, we received a grant that was not utilized, so there is about $30,000 available to send 3 students, as it's written in the grant, to paramedic class with the possibility of reimbursement on them passing their state boards. The council agreed that this would be a great idea. However, they wanted a contract. This should have been received via the email, but essentially what this does, it puts the participant under a contract for 3 years. It starts the beginning day of their paramedic class. So that would keep them employed with us throughout their class and then 2 years following completion of the class.
So that's the total of the 3 years, because I saw 3 years on there. So it's a training year and then the 2 years after. Okay.
Yes. And that means that they have to be within good standings the entire time through the program, as well as following the 2 years. Otherwise, it starts a repayment plan.
Okay. Does that grant run out at some point, or is it unable to be used?
The grant runs out for reimbursement in December of 2026. The program that the 3 individuals that are looking at the program, it actually starts in July. It will be about a year program, and they should be fully certified by December of next year.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's very normal, professional. Pay for something. Ask them. So I'll make a motion to approve the paramedic education sponsorship.
Also.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Nope.
Being none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Thank you.
Thank you for helping us grow.
Jeff and Becky.
I put everything in this proposal that we presented. I did want to say that I'm here from the Jane Rouse family. It was her idea. She's the one that actually purchased it. I want Becky to come because she has the background. I didn't realize that Rich had actually done this for over 50 years. He had been doing it since he was in high school. We would like to have the events on the right throughout the courthouse. We always stand kind of in that southwest corner. And I don't know, like we would get with Nathan, but if you guys approve it to see where it would be able to put there. We would also agree to pay for the installation of the events, so that would cost the town money. And it's basically that. If you guys have some questions,
Veteran. I think getting with Barry for the. I think it's a good idea.
I agree. I wondered whose idea it was, so thanks to Jane Roush. That's awesome.
I'll make a motion to let Dilts family put in the Rick Dilts real fence.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to build memorial bench. Discussion. Being none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Nathan?
Good morning. Give you some courthouse updates first, starting with project finances. Our owner's contingency balance is down to $54,000 and change. This reflects the credit from our design appropriation for that HVAC issue that has been settled, but unfortunately also the fact that the quotation from Rowing for getting the building internet ready came in much higher than I had budgeted for. I moved $40,000 from the contingency to the IT line item to cover all currently anticipated costs, as well as to provide a bit of a cushion. I am still expecting a little bit left over in the furniture budget and perhaps elsewhere, but this one was much worse than I had estimated, and really that was just based on sort of a overall ratio of Justice Center project cost to courthouse project cost, and there was just a lot more work basically starting from scratch in this building on the IT side. That said, as deep as we are into the project, even with a few odds and ends that may still be coming up, I am not concerned about the contingency budget at this point. I have an inquiry out to project manager at Ton and Blank about the balance of the construction contingency, and I will let the commissioners know that number via email once I've received it. Any questions?
No.
All right, change orders. No new requests over the last 2 weeks since I last presented to you. As I indicated a moment ago, there are still a couple of matters outstanding. They may require change orders. They may be covered by existing allowances within bids, or they may come out of Ton and Blank's contingency. One of those relates to the remote access control for the doors to the building, and there's a little bit of work to be done in the meeting room as far as some IT goes. Project process. Speaking of IT in the meeting room, I will be placing the order for the new microphones today. Meridian Street and the parking lot were paved over the weekend, and we no longer have a weird hump across Meridian. Landscaping was done on Thursday and Friday. I'm not sure if there is more work to be done or this week or not. Our second punch list walkthrough with Luminaut is scheduled for Tuesday, the 1st of July. The start date for furniture delivery has been pushed back a bit from today, but the overall schedule has not, other than potentially the delivery of our meeting table. And we've got some ongoing conversations happening there. It's been ordered, but there's been some internal communication issues with RJE, our furniture provider, and the manufacturer of the table might be a little bit delayed due to a large order that came in right before ours, but we are addressing that in an ongoing manner. Any questions on the courthouse?
Concerning the microphones, Nathan, are they going to be singles or are they going to be a component that will pick up?
So they will be there. I believe we have ordered 8 omnidirectional microphones. So they'll be resting on the table instead of mounted. And as the name indicates, they are directed to pick up sound from around rather than like a singer's microphone like the system we have. So as AJ and I discussed last week after the council meeting, probably going to have to keep the chit chat, the side conversations down so people aren't hearing things that you don't want them to be hearing, but they should be more sensitive to conversations happening at the table and better picking them up than these do. As we saw last week especially, and just now with the height difference between Jeff and Becky at the speaker's podium that we'll have now, it will be resting there too and picking it up. So we won't likely have the issue where if somebody is too tall or too short or turn their head 17 degrees, all of a sudden they cut out. And once that goes in, Rowing will be able to help us to make any tweaks to the settings on the sound system. So I'm not changing gain settings in the middle of meetings anymore.
Thank you.
And then just very quickly on the comprehensive plan project, CRPC has published the legal notice for requests for qualifications and sent the RFQ to 5 firms directly, among them Kimley Horn, who is currently doing our broadband plan, and Hannah Weigel and Klein, who has been doing some work for CRPC of late. I'm not sure offhand who the other 3 are. I've also received inquiries from 2 additional firms not on the direct mail list that have seen the legal notice. Qualifications are due to me by mid-July, and we'll assemble a committee to interview as many as we see fit of the number submitted to make a decision and then move forward with the process.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This would be a good time to talk. Hey, Nathan, and how about a open house when it's done?
I absolutely want to do that. The steering committee and I are planning on holding an in-person meeting to discuss those sorts of things once we've got a little firmer sense of how long after the 1st of July the punch list corrections will be made, what the furniture timeline looks like, IT timeline. We want to try, if possible, to thread the needle between having the building ready to go and having people moving in so we're not disrupting operations, but we're still able to take people through and kind of give them a sense of what it's going to look like. So, but yes, that is something we very much want to do.
That's something the committee will be organizing?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, Nathan. Holly Vanderay.
She's asking permission to let bids out for the state mandated cyclical reassessment. It's something she has to do every year, and she has to bid it out. So she's asking permission to do that. I think she sent you, but she had CC'd me on
Yeah,
it.
she did.
She did.
But it's not every year, is it?
Asking permission.
To bid it, yeah. So she hasn't got any bids yet, but she needs to ask permission to let the bids out.
Respond. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to let Holly get the bid for the berries.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, a second, to give permission for the assessor to advertise for bids for the state mandated cyclical reassessment. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Tell Holly. Jennifer Knebel?
Yeah. I had a couple things that I wanted to discuss this morning. The first being the moratorium that's been discussed at length since the beginning of January. I know the APC has met. They've discussed both battery energy storage systems as well as commercial solar. Excuse me. Commissioners, I need a drink. Hold on. Hold on. Started clearing my throat a million times. Commissioners have expressed the desire for the moratoriums as well, if done properly. I think we all have an understanding now that many of our existing ordinances need reviewed and additional ordinance need to be addressed or discussed. And I believe this, the first experience with Mammoth Solar has presented several areas of concern where our ordinances are concerned. At this time, without a moratorium, any applications accepted are subject to the existing ordinances, which will further muddy the waters for the county. I believe we need consistency in our ordinances and with these developers so that we don't find ourselves in trouble and unprotected as a county to the extent that we believe we should be protected. I would also like time for the county to look into another economic impact study so that we can see what impact all of these developments are going to have economically on the county. Many counties have done this. We will have, we know, many different boards, divisions contributing to discussions of these ordinances, multiple county departments, the APC, commissioners, BS, as well as our county attorney and the public. And it's going to take time to do that. So given the difficulty of the APC to hold these meetings, get everybody together, and to protect the county best, I'd like to discuss moratorium at this time for battery energy storage and solar. I know now that they are limited, I believe, through the state of Indiana to 12 months. I don't have a problem with the 12-month moratorium. I also don't have a problem with lifting that moratorium sooner than the 12 months if all of these, if all the areas can be addressed and everybody's in agreement with that. It could be lifted at any time. So Jacob, as our county attorney, I'm just going to ask for your input at this time. How are we setting and what would we need to do?
And yes, you are correct that the laws recently changed on the moratorium that caps it at a year. I know, and speaking with Carla, it sounds as if they are closer in the process of hiring counsel. If a recommendation is made to go to the APC, that can be done. Naturally, it's got to make its way through the APC in order to do that. So it's really kind of more of a discretionary issue for the three of you to decide whether that's what's in the best interest of the county. But I understand your concerns based on recent events of ordinances that could have some fine tuning done to that. So if that's something you guys want to do, you can make a recommendation. But ultimately, it's got to go through the APC.
Any discussion? Don, Mike?
We've discussed this first time when APC brought it to us. I think it's important it's done by the advertised newspaper, public comment. The second time APC discussed this, voiced by a few individuals, all that they were concerned that they extended it for an extended period of time. The only thing was happening was kicking it, not making progress on the ordinances, pausing or stopping it. So that was one of the reasons why it was brought to us. I do think that you said this. I just want to reiterate that any potential moratorium does not affect any project.
Correct. Any applications that have already come through would not be impacted by this moratorium.
I think that's important to note. A lot of people want moratorium would stop any construction happening. I think that is one point. Second, stating, I do believe written because we were learning. Any project, organization, once something gets going, you realize we should have done something. I do believe it would be beneficial. I do think the length of time is important. I personally believe that a shorter time period would be better. So the people on APC, individuals representing APC, as well as those responsible for writing the ordinance, work diligently instead of kicking. I think a short period of time, people busy working, going to what you had said about I look at it as a shorter period of time to rewrite some that could be extended if they are making progress. They just need some more time. Progress isn't being made, and if it appears that people are just kicking it down the road, then I think it should be lifted if people are willing to change the ordinances.
Mike?
I just don't really think we need a moratorium. I think like courthouse, when we're done, we'll go down through a punch list and what they haven't done right, we'll make them change it.
But you realize without a moratorium, we can't do that. We can't change it. If new developers come in today, we are going to be in the same situation.
The courthouse has a punch list, so I don't know why you.
I don't think the courthouse impacts the number of families. We had 220 families being impacted by the first Mammoth Solar project. The courthouse is that's a completely different subject. This is impacting hundreds of families.
I thought so.
Yeah, thank you.
As discussed, meeting, we asked VS to work with the building inspector, and they have to work out the details about items for ordinance. And really, rewriting an ordinance can be started before the moratorium, right?
It can be started, but
You can start rewriting your ordinances. I would hope that based on conversations that take place, that notes are being kept on what recommendations can be changed. So we're always constantly trying to improve the organization as well, policy. Someone should be writing those down. A lot of conversation with others about our ordinance, looking at other BS has a lot of experience as well. So I would hope some of those thoughts are being worded prior.
I would agree, Don. I think it just, without this, it gives the county no immediate protection. We are always going to be playing catch up. We're always going to be behind the 8 ball. So I think a moratorium, and we look at the difficulty the APC has had in even meeting. I mean, they haven't had an attorney for I don't know how long. I think it's doing our due diligence to give them the time without playing whack-a-mole every day for the next, I don't know how long. So.
Just recently, a couple of things that I've run into as far as inconsistencies go is, for example, on the bottle brush project, there was discussion about, things like the requirement for pacer studies prior to obtaining a permit rather than prior to construction, which are two very different things. And I understand, like, from a developer standpoint of why would we have a pacer study done a year and a half, 2 years before we even start construction, because it's not an apples to apples comparison. I think that's just one example of, I think things when they're actually put into practice don't make sense. We obviously, had a whole debate about the issue of fencing and setbacks and those sorts of things. I think stuff like that can be explicitly stated in the ordinance so that there isn't any ambiguity, that it's black and white. And at a minimum, if subcommittee or something like that was put together to kind of make a punch list of items that need to be corrected in these ordinances, that would be a start. But my thought is, I don't have an opinion one way or another on the moratorium. That's for the three of you to decide. But if there are new applicants that come through, the ordinances that are on the books now are what are going to apply. So I think some mechanism to start making these changes would be appropriate. Whatever form that takes, I guess, is up to you guys. I'm happy to that.
Don, what amount of time would be reasonable for you, with the understanding that if they're not finished at that point, that we could offer additional time through an extended moratorium, not to exceed a year, of course?
I might consider, think about progress. Analyze that in my mind. Talk to some other people outside of the county. That would show it.
Would you meet in the middle and go with 7 months? I like to compromise. Meet me in the middle, Don.
I would think about that. I would think.
Well, I am prepared today to make a motion to recommend a 7-month moratorium on battery energy storage systems and commercial solar energy systems. And I would hope for our community that you would do the same.
Said I'd want to think about that.
We've had more than enough time to consider this, more than enough. And now we are just kicking the can down the road. And this is very disappointing for the community. This is kicking the can down the road. I've made my motion to recommend a 7-month moratorium on battery energy storage systems and commercial solar energy systems. Is there a second?
Motion dies for lack of a second.
Okay. Item number 2. The issue has been brought to me by several tax-paying residents of Pulaski County. The residents are asking for an update on the monies that the county was to have received for the negotiation, execution, and implementation of the Economic Development Agreement, the Decommissioning Agreement, and the Road Use Agreement and Drainage Repair Agreements between the governing bodies and the owners. Governing bodies being the commissioners of Pulaski County and the owners being the solar developers. Governing bodies for solar would be Mammoth Solar and Moss Creek Solar. And I would like to ask, it was brought up in the fall that the $120,000 due the county from Mammoth Solar and the $105,000 due the county from Moss Creek Solar were never received by the county. Was the county ever invoiced, or did the county ever invoice the solar developers for these agreements? Teresa, do you know the answer to that?
I cannot speak to decommissioning anything else, but as far as the economic development agreements go, yes. County has received approximately $670,000 plus or minus between Moss Creek and Mammoth.
Okay, but I'm speaking specifically to the $120,000 that Mammoth was to pay Pulaski County for the economic and drainage and all those agreements. As of the fall, that money had not been given to the county.
I'm not familiar with what number that is or what particular agreement. The actual payments owed per the EDA have all been paid to date. So that was $175,000 earlier this year as a first installment on this year's payments, plus all of the money they owed for last year, plus some penalties because we renegotiated and pushed their schedule back a year.
Okay.
So all of those those have been paid. I don't know what this 120 is, I'm sorry, but everything actually owed as economic development payments, fees, and considerations is up to date.
Okay, this is in the agreement for economic development, page 15. Payment of county expenses. Developers shall pay the county the aggregate amount of $120,000. This is Mammoth Solar for the county's legal, financial, advisory, and other expenses provided by Baker Tilly, Kevin Tankersley, Barnes and Thornburg related to the negotiation, execution, implementation of the agreement between the governing bodies and developer, the resolutions and other documentation necessary to approve the abatement, any other actions of the governing body. So I've had residents ask me, this was discussed either August or September. It was stated that the money went directly to, Kevin Tankersley stated in that meeting that he did receive those monies. However, the developer in the agreement was supposed to pay that money to the county. The county was to be invoiced by Kevin Tankersley and the other entities, and then the county was to pay those entities for the work that they did. From what I understand, we have no invoices for any of these fees related to these agreements. We have no documentation whatsoever that the money was ever paid to the county or to these entities. So
my understanding is that it was all paid directly to all the consultants. If you'd like, I can request in some sort of proof of payment from Tankersley, Barnes and Thornburg, and Baker Tilly to get to you. I'm happy to do that. My understanding is that for whatever reason or reasons, instead of following the letter of the contract and paying the county, who then turned around and passed it through, all of those payments were made. But like I said, if you'd like, I can reach out to those three parties and get some sort of documentation for you.
right, because at this point, Mammoth Solar and Moss Creek are in breach of their contract. They have not paid the county the $120,000 and the $105,000 for those different fees. I think for transparency for the public, and it comes to mind, it comes to my mind too, if the county did not receive that money, what guarantee do the residents of Pulaski County have that that money went where it was supposed to go? And without any invoicing, any supportive documentation, Mammoth Solar and Moss Creek are in breach of their contract. We have no record of where that money went, what the invoiced amount was, nothing. And I don't think any of us believe that is the way to do business for the county, especially when we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. So,
Nathan, on. Well, or anchors, those other organizations, directly.
That is my understanding as to what actually happened, yes.
the contract does not read that way. The contract says the money, those entities invoice the county and the county bills the developer and then the developer pays those fees to the county. None of that was done. None of it. So we have no accountability or tracking for, what is that, $225,000 that was supposed to have come to the county per the agreements. Both solar developers are in breach currently of their contracts.
Nathan said you would reach out to them. Jacob.
Yes, I am happy to do that. I can do that today.
Okay. Thank you. I think we need to clear that up for the county and to know where that money actually went. Let's see. That is all I have on the moratorium and on the money at this point. So, thank you.
Jenny, the only thing I would add to that, I did not have, my memory was at least Mr. Tankersley, I believe, had been paid directly. I did not have a chance to talk to the partner at Barnes and Thornburg who had worked on those projects, but I did have a chance to speak to Mr. Tankersley. I will tell you, I agree that the contract is pretty clear about this way that the system, the payments should go. In practice, I have seen this happen before where I've worked on projects for other counties with other renewables where as part of the agreement, they will pay the attorneys. And sometimes I have had other companies reach out and essentially say, send us an invoice. And I don't know if that was done here, but I would agree with you. Generally, it would go through the county first, and that's also kind of a state board of accounts.
I would think so. And I would think for just transparency and good business, I want to know who was paid that money because that money could have gone in anybody's pockets. So I think it's necessary to know exactly where that money went. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Hi, Holly. You owe Teresa, she took care of it. Moving on to other business. Approve and sign. First, we've been presented claims and payroll number 12.
I looked them over. The payment claims.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the claims and payroll number 12. Any discussion? Being none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed. We were presented the minutes from June the 2nd, 2025 regular session.
I've read the minutes and I approve the minutes from June 2nd, 2025.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the minutes from June 2nd, 2025. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Next, advanced time, new timekeeping system, and allow data request.
So what this is we have switched, and I've been talking to you folks about this. Our current timekeeping system is not very user-friendly with our payroll system, our allow system. So this company it'll integrate a lot easier into allow, freeing up Jenny's time. There's no double entry like there is currently. And what this is asking for is so that advanced time and Lau can talk together once people start clocking in on this new timekeeping system, which is due to start the 22nd of this month. So the first one is, like I said, access between Lau and timekeeping system, AOD. And then also, then the other request is for the data information so that we can download our information into our timekeeping system and get that all rolling as far as our employee information, which is all, it's very secure. It's a company that deals with several counties' timekeeping system. And Lau suggested them very highly. So that's what these two requests are.
How much is it?
Oh, we are actually, to do this, we are actually, had already earmarked the money back last year through our American Rescue Plan money that we had received. And so that money's already earmarked for the time clocks and the actual system itself. So, and in the long run, as we looked what we are paying Right Stuff, which is the current company we use for timekeeping, it is actually less. And then it'll save, like I said, it'll help in payroll because it'll lessen up Jenny to do other things such as HR type stuff maybe.
We make a motion to approve advanced time and allow data.
I'll second it.
Motion second. As far as discussion goes, I'd like to say that I think the size that all departments very, very important at the same time. So that's we have to use. Discussion. We have a motion and a second to approve advance time and allow data requests to us. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed. Covered bridge certification. Teresa put this on the agenda. I thought, where's the covered bridge? Teresa explained to me, every county is required to certify that how many covered bridges you have in your county. So if you have 0, we report.
Correct. Yep. Mm-hmm. So, yep, this is reporting that there is 0, and I have to send it back to the state comptroller's office down in Indy.
Do you need a motion?
Please.
I'll make a motion to approve the covered bridge certification.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Covered bridge would be nice. Okay, no, never mind.
Have we ever?
We had a viaduct.
Well, covered road.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to approve the covered bridge certification. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. True roll program.
Yes. So I had come to you about a month ago regarding, it's a program that is actually looking at all of our homestead exemptions, making sure that they are correct and that they are, that the people that actually are filing these exemptions actually live here, which is, it's a law and it's supposed to be that way. But unfortunately, we have people that, and not necessarily in this county, but other counties that file them in several different counties. So this program, what it does is it looks at all of our homesteads, make sure that things are correct. As I stated about a month ago, I misread, unfortunately. I thought that it was free, except for what they found, and they would get 30% of what they find. But unfortunately, I misread, and it's actually the $2,500 implementation fee. But I do have money in my budget that I can transfer over from a different appropriation to try and get this executed. I mean, if we only find a couple, that's those things, but it's not, and I'd already talked with council and they were okay with me transferring the money to do this. So that's what I'm wanting to do, start this program, have them look at it, look at our homes.
I'll make a motion that Teresa wrote.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and second to approve the true roll program. $500 contract. Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have no conference request. A discussion, just that our golf cart, or a couple items, our golf cart and off-road vehicle revised ordinance from last meeting, advertising paper, allows agriculture not to have a. Also, our sheriff's department, off-duty officers, discussed off-duty officers, extra work, but also our sheriff's department, off-duty officers have an opportunity to work transport. Many sheriff's departments do that, and other law enforcement agencies do that. A lot of state police are involved with that. And the company reimburses, pays the county per mile for use. So it gives an opportunity for off-duty officers to earn some extra money, as well as paying for the county for the maintenance of vehicles. Sheriff's Department. BS updates.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I'm going to touch on all four today. Got some updates. So with the May Apple project, we have a progress meeting today with them. We're going to get further updates. Currently, where they stand is they plan to mobilize this fall to do some tree clearing, and then we'll mobilize, we'll come back fully in the spring to begin their installation. Bottle brush is still pending permits, and then Moss Creek, we're working on setting up progress. So I sent out the executed map this morning from our meeting with them last week for the central area. And so that was due to some dot closures that are going to be occurring along State Road 39. And so we had to update that map to minimize extra damage to other roads. So we have that executed. Last week we had a meeting with the surveyor in regards to a concern with Butland area. And so what happened from that, I know we all copied on some of that correspondence. The area that was in question and concern was a buffer area that Corral had included. And so where their road is going was included in their original permitting. And so that was already approved. It just was going into their own buffer area. There's nothing with county ordinances, state departments, or any governing agencies that are saying that buffer area is needed. So because they've already received their no permits needed from those agencies, and the plans had not changed, there was no issue with that. They were just making mention, trying to be good neighbors. Yes.
No permission from, not from the county, it's the state.
Correct. So last construction meeting focused on that NDOT closure and really trying to work out how we get around it. Like I said, the RUA roadmap for Central was the only change that came from that. We've given that to Nathan. Road repairs continue. 300 was the main focal point last week. They have made mention that they have gotten Town and Country to commit to doing 2 days a week on site for continuous road repairs every week, which is a very great sign because, as we all know, it's road construction season. There's a lot going on, so for them to commit 2 days to this project is a very large push on their effort. So we will be seeing them out there regularly. Update on our independent engineer portion. We're preparing our scope and fee for that ordinance rewrite. So it's in our review process now. Speak. There was an accident that happened on the 10th on one of the roads. It was due to a driver error, and so they ended up flipping their vehicle into marsh area. Thankfully, there was no injuries. The driver was sent home, drug tested, and we're waiting the official report on all of that. I just wanted to make you aware that we were on scene. We did know that happened. Yes, completely flipped over on its top. And so because the window was down, they were able to slip it up. Otherwise, they would not have been able to. It could have been a lot worse. No, it was. Yeah. No, it rolled. What's that? Yes. Fortunately, no one was injured. They got the out. There was temporary closure on that roadway. Lastly, I want to make mention that there had been payments for the fines that we had issued them. And so they've been making those payments, as well as our fees have been going to the county. And I believe there's an account set up that they've been reimbursing for our payments. Just making that transparent, given the earlier.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all I have to report.
I do have a question for you, Tim. As our VS compliance company, do you have an opinion on a moratorium? You're the one that's out there. You're looking at everything that's going on. What is your opinion on a moratorium for Pulaski County at this point?
My concern would be any future ones, brush specifically, once they get approved with their permits, the ordinance changes that we're currently looking at are not going to apply to them. Punch list could be formed, then we can go down through that. But anything that comes from the changes, correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, but until those are published, advertised, taken into account, they're not applicable to any permits issued prior to that. So that would be our biggest concern. I think it would be a good idea for the county to review the funds that we're planning on getting, allocating those funds accordingly through the comprehensive plan that is being worked out. There's going to be lots of money coming in with some of these projects. Having a plan of attack, knowing what's going to be coming in, to be beneficial. There is also the other side of putting a moratorium in place could hinder future developments and cause concerns for them wanting to come in, which could later have financial impacts. But yeah, looking at both sides of the coin, make you fully aware of both sides.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Last section of our agenda is public comment. Yes.
Did we do?
Sure, go right ahead.
I'm sorry. Didn't see that you leaped forward on that. Just a couple things that have been brought up, phone calls I've gotten that I just want to make public so people know kind of where we are. Restaurant inspections have been a big concern for several people in the county. I have requested that an updated list be provided by Edwina Guffey by August 31st on all those restaurant inspections. She also sent me, there is a form. So anyone who has complained to me, there is a form. I did bring some of those forms this morning that you do have to fill out in order for them to be legitimate. So just know that calling me is not enough. You do need to complete that form. I did also call or put a call into, trying to think of what the name of the group is, special counsel, something on the live streaming. I've gotten phone calls. Does our organization, Soil and Water, have to do the live streaming? So I do have a list up here also to let you know what organizations do have to be live streamed. So if there's any question, you feel free to call any of us and we will get that form to you that we receive so that you know if you do indeed have to do that. Let's see. Nathan, I had asked some time ago for an updated list or a list on the number of employees working for the solar projects. And I've received from Pulaski County residents, taxpayers working for that.
So-
Do you have that?
I don't have it on hand. VS was able to get some information. I can send that to you and then you can make it public once I get that to you. I had requested Bechtel provide that. They were working on it, and then somewhere along the lines, the decision was made that that needed to go through VS rather than me asking Bechtel directly. So,
Okay.
so I can get that to you.
So you can get that to me?
Yeah,
or
I
VS?
do have it in my inbox. I just need to find the email and yeah, we'll get it to
Okay,
you.
if you would, yeah, forward
got it.
that on to me. This is another little item that's come up because I've been receiving pictures and all of this. I am just going to say for myself as a commissioner that we have a lot of boards that sit up here and do business with the public. And we have a lot of people on their cell phones during these meetings. And this has become a concern because people are wondering who's actually making the decisions behind these microphones. Is it whoever we're texting throughout the meeting that's telling them what to do, or is it the actual person themselves? So I am going to make a recommendation. Boards can talk amongst themselves that we do not have cell phones turned on. Mine was buzzing, but I clicked it off. But that we're not on our cell phones up here as elected officials doing business. We need to be making the decisions for ourselves and not number one, it looks bad, it's rude. And number two, it makes you wonder who's making the decision up here. So I would like other boards to discuss that, but I think it's time for transparency's sake that we eliminate cell phones from our public meetings. Any discussion or any input on that, Don or Mike?
Well, dealing with cell phone. Texting is one thing. Cell phone actually has more intelligence than the first astronauts that went up into space. There's so much more with cell phone. I sat here with my cell phone and look things up on our website. Well, I've not texted. I've looked back at, tried to look back at previous emails during discussion, something I have accurate information. There's a lot more to a cell phone than just texting. You understand that perception. Wanted it. There's a lot more to a cell phone than texting.
Maybe iPads or something would be better than, I'm just saying for myself, you're not going to see me on it, and I would appreciate if public officials up here use it as little as possible, and it just does not become a part of every meeting because it does not look good and it does not look transparent for the public. Let's see. Chris, I had a question for you. The additional law enforcement that's helping with the, that's working with the Mammoth Project, are they security only or are they out patrolling and issuing violations? Okay.
They call in early every day and ask if there's any issues. And if there are, they address them. And then we sit in the parking lots also.
Right. Okay. All right. I've gotten calls that they're seeing a lot of them just sitting in parking lots and wondering, is it security or is it, are they out doing what they need to do? So thank you. And then finally, Jacob, the hospital review of that E.M.S contract or that contract, where are we on that? And this is a contract that E.M.S or that the hospital has stated that they will pay for. I think it's $10,000 to have a company out of Texas do a review of our whole E.M.S to give us suggestions, recommendations. But there was some language we were concerned about in there, and Natasha was as well.
Well, and one of the concerns that had previously been relayed, and I've spoken with yourself and with Natasha about this, is the fact that the county is, as it's currently written, is not a party to the contract. So I think there's a privity of contract issue with that. I did reach out last week to Attorney Schramm, who's the attorney for Pulaski Memorial to get a working document with my edits to that. I do not know if he has to take that in front of his board for approval. I'm assuming he probably does, but I have reached out to him with that concern. The other concern that I had too, and Natasha, feel free to correct me because I'm sure I'm probably going to butcher this, is that there was, did the county receive grant money to cover the cost of this study? Are you aware of that at all? Because that was a question that he had posed to me, so I didn't know if you were aware of that. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, if we could stay on that.
But I think the biggest concern, and it's been relayed, is the concern that the county is not really a party to that contract.
So that's with the other attorney right now? We're waiting to get that back, or?
Yes.
Okay, because I know council, when I go to county council meetings, their big concern every time Natasha comes up is the study.
Mhm.
So that really, we need to get that done.
Mhm.
So that they're, oh, go ahead, Natasha.
Add the other language into it about the sharing of the information as well.
Yeah. Part of my notes is that there would be essentially like essentially a non-disclosure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Natasha. That's okay, now. That better.
Up, live stream. Our intention, but if an organization is able to live stream or something, technology, meeting still can be recorded, and it's.
Right. Yeah,
And again,
Things happen.
Yeah.
And they don't have the
sure.
one meeting. Nathan was here. Of course, we weren't all, but that code at that time. Nathan was something happened. Someone reported it.
Right.
yes, and I know a lot of Indiana counties have already started this. I believe the law goes into effect July 1, but to get things in place and the infrastructure in place that started. Don, I don't have the statute in front of me, but your recitation of those facts sound correct to me.
Right. It's just that not all of them have to do it, like soil and water they do not have to do that. So a lot of them were panicking, wondering, do we have to live stream all of our meetings? And I've got the notice that I got from
Correct.
whoever it's from, downstate. But anyway, we have it, so. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Public comment. At this time, we'll entertain public comment. Ask that you step to the microphone, speak into the microphone, state your name, residence, approximately 2 minutes. Ask that Mary?
I just wanted to ask if you should be okay for the county highway stuff up on the fairground, like we have in the past. So like equipment, out there, bringing there, nothing.
I think, appreciate you asking. From my standpoint, yes, I think you're a very vital point for our county fair. So, thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Gail Lambert, Rich Grove Township. Jennifer Knebel, thank you for asking for more. With the start of the Mammoth Project, we found that there are consistencies, followed, weaknesses. All of you commissioners are aware of that. I myself have sent emails pointing those out. So thank you for trying to put something into effect so that if somebody walks in the door tomorrow and wants to. As far as needing time, I don't understand. And Mike thinking that this discussion began in January, months ago. Talked about since January. So I don't understand why decision should have been made. So unhappily, you've lived down to our expectations.
Anyone else?
Like, the only thing I would add is talk about doing a punch list. Well, you can't do a punch list when you have no rules. So how are you going to correct something when you have nothing in the ordinances for battery storage systems? So, I mean, come on. And I think a moratorium is the legal way that you hit pause and you put your ordinances in order.
Anyone else?
Make a motion for adjournment.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.